This morning we're introducing Dr. Clifford Yudelman, who's joining us here on Medical Monday and also more specifically on e-radio. We are chatting to him where he will, from today, share some weekly advice when it comes to dentistry and your smile. Dr. Clifford Yudelman, of course, from OptiSmile. Dr. Clifford Yudelman, a big welcome to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. It's great to be on the show, and I look forward to further shows where we can help people out.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Yudelman, let's get to know you a bit better. Can you share with us your journey that led you to practice dentistry across 4 continents?
So the very beginning started in 1964. I was born in 1960. I'm the son of a dentist. I'm the middle son. And one day my dad was standing around talking to his friends and having a scotch and making a braai, and I kept tugging on his trouser leg, and eventually he said, "What is it, my boy?" And I looked up at him and I said, "Daddy, one day when I grow up, I want to be a dentist just like you." And I never changed my mind after that. When I was in Standard 5, Form 1, Form 2, I wasn't a very good student at school, actually, and back in those days, it was like 1974, 75. You had to decide if what your career was very early. You had to decide whether you wanted to go to dental school or whatever. And I remember going around the class at school, and they said, "And Johnny, what do you want to be?" And Johnny wanted to be a doctor, and then second choice, a lawyer, and someone else, a school teacher. And after that, they went on. And then they said, "What do you want to be?" And I remember I wasn't getting very good results at school in those days, a little bit of ADHD and being naughty. And when they said, and Clifford, what do you want to be? And I said, a dentist. And the whole class just laughed at me. And then they said, "What's your second choice?" I said, "I'm going to be a dentist." And that's where it started, and it went on from there. But I know that's where it first started. And so I went to Wits and I qualified in 1983. And I, like a lot of dentists, then went off to London. And in those days, you could practice in all the Commonwealth countries. And I practiced in London for 4 years. I did all my California board exams. I took a number of trips to and from America, from London, and I qualified as a dentist in California again in 1986.
Wow.
And I practiced in California for 16 years. I had my own practice when I was 29 years old.
Sure.
And I lived in America, and then I moved to Australia in 2002, and I practiced in Perth for 12 years. And in 2014, my high school sweetheart showed up on Facebook, and as one does, I sent her a message. It was 37 years since we had been together, and she answered me, and we were both single, and I came straight back to South Africa, and within 6 months, I'd moved back here, and I started OptiSmile. I've never looked back. It's now over nine years, and we're now married, and I've got 3 stepkids. And she actually she runs OptiSmile. So that's the short story. Do you want the long version now?
What a story. That is fantastic. Wow. What a journey it has been, hey? And, 40 years experience in dentistry. I think a very interesting question would be, what major changes have you observed in the field, especially regarding disease prevention?
A number of things have happened. So my generation, I'm 63. Most of us have got lots of fillings. My dad was my dentist. I, like everyone else, used to love my Tex and my Coca-Cola, and we didn't know much about dental floss in those days, and there was no fluoride in the water. And so many people in their 50s and 60s have got these terribly big fillings and amalgams and cracking teeth and so on. But the younger generation, they don't know about silver fillings and crowns and root canals. But we've seen an epidemic. In fact, this last dental health month was in September. I wrote a lot of articles, and they got published in a number of places about tooth erosion. We're now seeing young people as young as 16 or 18 wearing away their teeth, and their teeth are getting shorter and shorter. So just when some things improve and there's not a lot of cavities, there's new things that cause problems. So we're always on the lookout for these types of things, and looking for ways to prevent these. There's the basics, using a fluoride toothpaste and brushing twice a day and seeing your dentist every 6 months, or in some cases only need to go every 12 months, and so on. But yeah, we've seen a lot of changes with regards to prevention. In future podcasts, we can actually do one on prevention, and I'll be giving lots of tips about saving your money and saving your teeth. There's a lot to talk about. There's been a huge number of changes with prevention. But when it comes to actual dentists and dental treatment, some things have gotten a lot better and some things have become a lot worse, actually.
And then that's also the name of your upcoming book, Save Your Money, Save Your Teeth, suggesting a focus on prevention. Is this what inspired you to write this book? What can readers expect to learn from it?
So, as we have more and more technology and ways of treating teeth, we've got very high tech, we've got 3D scanners and AI and 3D printing and so on. There's a lot of options for treating teeth, but treatment isn't always the best thing. Prevention always works out better. They say a stitch in time saves 9. And over 40 years, I've had people come to me where perhaps a dentist had told them they need, back in the days before veneers, the dentist had told them, oh, you need all your teeth capped or crowned. And when maybe these days, all they need is some whitening, or maybe another dentist might suggest veneers to straighten their teeth, when perhaps 14 weeks or 20 weeks of clear aligners would straighten the teeth, and then some whitening, and you prevent, you don't have to drill teeth down. So my book will delve. I've already written about 180 pages, and I just keep having more and more ideas. I think it's going to be quite a big book, actually.
Wow, I can't wait. This book, is it going to be an e-book, or are you actually going to have it printed in black and white?
Both. It will be, I'm hoping,
awesome,
to get it into our local bookshops. It will have a focus, especially there'll be chapters. The focus will be it's written by a South African for a South African. I'm proudly South African. There will be chapters and things that will be more pertinent to people living in America and Australia. We are, practicing both of those, and in the UK, in the UK, there's things like national health, and it's almost impossible to get in to see a dentist. Apparently, we have a lot of people from the UK coming to see us in Sea Point, and in the USA, there's these things called health maintenance organization, where your company pays dentists a certain amount of money to look after your health, and they spend their time basically keeping you away, because if you go in, it costs them money. So there's all kinds of pitfalls and things to watch out for as a consumer, and nobody really knows who to trust. I think people in South Africa trust their plumber in some cases more than they trust their dentist. So I want to bring back the trust factor.
Trust is so important, and especially on Valentine's Day, how can we trust you to give us that perfect smile for Valentine's Day approaching? Can you share any special oral hygiene tips for preparing for a romantic evening?
So, yes, Valentine's Day is coming up on the 14th, and of course, for some people, it doesn't mean a lot, but for other people, it's that one day of the year that they look forward to. They've got a special person in their life, or they hope that this person will become their special person. And we all worry, if we're going to be going in for a kiss, that we maybe got bad breath, or that our smile isn't looking great. So the one thing to remember when you're sitting opposite your date is, no matter how your teeth look, smiling is more than just the cosmetic. You can have crooked teeth and still have a wonderful smile. You smile with your eyes, you smile with your heart. And my tip for Valentine's is, we'll get to the bad breath in a second and oral hygiene tips, but don't be scared to smile. Even if you've got a front tooth that's missing or something that you're embarrassed about, when you smile, it shows that you're open and that someone can trust you, and also being intimate in the way of like sharing your insecurities will draw that person closer. If you're sitting opposite someone and you're hoping to get a kiss or to take the relationship further, just make sure you smile, and you can mention something. Oh, I've got an appointment with the dentist next week to fix this tooth or whatever, or I'm saving up for Invisalign so I can straighten my teeth. But don't be scared to smile, no matter what your teeth look like. That's my first thing before we talk about oral hygiene. So yeah, back to the oral hygiene. It's very important that starting from today that you drink lots of water. Water is your friend. If you're not drinking enough water, by the time Valentine's Day comes, your mouth is dry. You drink a lot of coffee, you drink too much alcohol, and you're not drinking enough water. You got a dry mouth, your breath will not be fresh. And also, making sure that you've got lots of saliva in your mouth. You can chew sugar-free gum. Chewing sugar-free gum is a very good way to get your saliva going. Start today. My preferred one is Orbit Professional. I always have some around. I chew it all the time after meals. I'll tell you exactly what the name is in a second, but chewing sugar-free gum like that really helps. Of course, you don't want to be chewing while you're sitting at a wonderful dinner. It's now just called Orbit, Wrigley's Orbit spearmint flavored chewing gum. It's got xylitol. Xylitol is very good for your breath. And if you use a mouthwash, make sure it doesn't contain alcohol. There's a lot of alcohol-containing mouthwashes, and if you rinse your mouth with alcohol, it's very astringent and it will dry your mouth out further.
Okay. I think the thing about bad breath is the people who have it don't always realize it. But you get some people who are conscious about their bad breath, when they get close to others. Sometimes there's another medical reason for it. What immediate steps can someone take if they're worried about bad breath right before a date?
So over the years, so I've actually been treating bad breath since I was in California. I actually was one of the early members. There's actually a society, International Bad Breath Society, but they call it, it was called ISBOR, International Society for Breath Odor Research. And of course, they're not researching people with fresh breath, are they? We're talking about bad breath, halitosis. So the first thing is to know that just because you're worried that you may have bad breath doesn't mean to say you do have bad breath. And there are machines for measuring it, but the best method to check, it's called organoleptic testing. So if you have a little brother or sister, you just walk right up to them and breathe in their face and you watch their expression. If your breath is really bad, they might, punch you in the stomach. Your mom might not always tell the truth, but don't be overly paranoid about bad breath. Bad breath first thing in the morning is normal. It's called morning breath. We have a tongue coating that builds up overnight, especially if we are mouth breathers. And so don't be overly paranoid. First check if you're in a relationship, if you're married, you can ask your husband or your wife, your partner, sweetie, if I ever have bad breath, please be sure to tell me. Sometimes people are too embarrassed. Or if you've got a very close friend, if you're in high school or university, especially if you're a girl, girls tend to be more honest with each other. Boys just tend to, we're not going out with him, his breath stinks, and they don't tell each other. So if you're a boy, ask your mom, she'll tell you. She'll probably always say you have bad breath because she wants you to brush and floss.
Yeah.
So, if you do have bad breath, there's emergency steps you can take today that will ensure that by Valentine's, your breath will be very fresh. If we've got time, I can actually share a few with you.
Please do.
So 95% of bad breath actually comes from the back third of your tongue. If you breathe out through your nose, say your mom's checking your breath and you breathe, if you just breathe out, there might not be any odor, but as you speak, so what you want to do is is actually count to 10 or 20. And as you speak, your tongue and your palate dries out. And it's like, at school, I let a stink bomb off in the boys' change room. And then when the wind blows through the change room, it actually stunk out the entire school. And it's the same with your breath. If you've got a stink bomb at the back of your tongue and your mouth is closed, there's no odor. If you breathe out through your nose, the odor will not come out through your nose because it's a different pathway. If there's odor coming out of your nose, it could be garlic or curry, or perhaps you've got chest infection. That's not the type of bad breath we're talking about. The bad breath we're talking about here is 95% from the back third of the tongue. And people who have bleeding gums or poor oral hygiene or a broken tooth, that contributes. If you've got food, if you've got a bit of putko stuck there between your upper molar and the next one behind it, a little bit of biltong stuck in there, or you go and you pick it out and your gums bleed a little, and that protein, or you got a postnasal drip, anything with protein, you have a protein shake, and it gets on the back of your tongue, that stink bomb at the back of your tongue just fires up, and you can go from a 0 to a 10 in just a few seconds. So actually, you want to start today. You want to scrape your tongue. That's the very first tip. And brushing your tongue with a toothbrush is very difficult. You can gag when you brush your tongue. It's like if there's peanut butter on the carpet and you go and you use a little brush, you're just going to smush it in, and it's not going to all come off. But if you take a knife, I'm not suggesting you clean your tongue with a knife, but I have had a patient that once did that. So if you take a special tongue scraper, you can buy them. Dischem has them. Clicks has them. A lot of dentists sell them. You can get them online. It's a bit late. Valentine's Day is around the corner. Or you can just get a spoon and bend it a little, one of those cheap picnic spoons that are a bit sharper, not your good silver, not your mom's nice dining room ware. You get a very cheap spoon. It should be metal, and you bend a little angle on it, and you scrape the back third of your tongue. The first time you do it, you'll be surprised what comes off there if you have got bad breath. It's like a yellow brownie cottage cheese. I know it sounds a bit gross for people who are listening. and even one good scrape will keep your breath fresh the rest of the day. So that's you're taking out the garbage. If there's garbage in the corner and the wind's blowing, it's going to stink out the house. You can go and put disinfectant all over the garbage can, but unless you take the garbage out. Now let's imagine now you've scraped your tongue and it's nice and pink. You don't want to overdo it. But once you've scraped your tongue and it's nice and clean, you can then use a chlorhexidine mouthwash. So chlorhexidine is a chemical that's been used for many, many years. When surgeons go in to do surgery, when they scrub up and they put on gloves, they use chlorhexidine hand washes. And at dental school, we use some of this with some mint and some other things, and we made chlorhexidine mouthwashes. These days, you can buy. The one available in South Africa is called Corsadil. I don't believe you need a prescription for it. One word of warning about chlorhexidine is if you use it for more than a few days, it can make your teeth stain, which is another whole story. Having white teeth is important on Valentine's. It's a bit late to go out and get them clean now, but maybe if you get lucky on Valentine's, you might quickly book an appointment and really take advantage of your new relationship and go and get your teeth nice and clean and maybe get them whitened if they are yellow. But yeah, back to chlorhexidine. Don't use it for very long, and also it will make your beer taste funny. Strong chlorhexidine, you need a very weak chlorhexidine. You can even dilute it, and don't overdo it. You just need 1 or 2 rinses with this per day, just for a very quick 30-second rinse. And I guarantee if you had a very bad case of bad breath, your bad breath will be 95% better just with those 2 tips alone.
Wow, that's very, very nice. Any quick fixes to make your teeth whiter? Let's say you can't get to a dentist in time before Valentine's Day. Have you got any life hacks?
So I think if dentists are listening to this, they're going to freak out. I probably shouldn't say it on the air.
How about Tipex?
But sometimes people come in for a cleaning because they drink a lot of Americanos or espressos, like myself, and their teeth underneath are quite white, but they're but they've got surface stain. In that case, a quick polish, if you can get in with a dentist, maybe you need a good one or 1.5 hour clean, but perhaps a dentist can get you in for a quick polish. You promise them you'll book for a full clean soon. And that's not the part that I thought the dentist might hate. The hack that I'm going to talk about is if you use a toothpick, or you break, I don't know if they still sell matches. I think everyone uses vapes or cigarette lighters these days, but those good old Lion matches, like a little square piece of wood, it won't damage your enamel. And you can put a bit of toothpaste on the end of obviously not the lighting end, but the other end, the wooden end.
I would hope so.
And if you gently buff your teeth, don't use a nail file, don't do anything stupid. Of course, as soon as you finish listening to the show, go and buy a new toothbrush. Always buy a soft toothbrush. Floss your teeth for the next few days, but definitely don't floss your teeth right before your Valentine's Day. Floss them first thing in the morning, and don't floss again when you floss. If your oral hygiene hasn't been good or your gums are a bit swollen, when you floss, you'll cause bleeding. And you can just Google how to floss on YouTube, should I say. There's hundreds of very good videos. You don't have to go to a dentist to learn how to floss, but don't floss right before your date. If your gums are oozing or bleeding and your tongue isn't 100% clean, your breath won't be very fresh.
These are some really great tips, but I think oral hygiene is so important, just even beyond Valentine's Day. It shouldn't just be, this time of year. So how can individuals maintain that momentum of good oral hygiene practices right throughout the year?
So that's a good one, Ian. Thanks for asking that. So obviously, I'm going to encourage people to go to the dentist. Your dentist, when it comes to oral hygiene, is the best person to advise. Anything on my podcasts is just general advice. I'm not consulting. This is just consumer information. It shouldn't be taken as a dentist-patient relationship. So always check with your dentist. Some dentists in bigger practices have got oral hygienists. And once the dentist has checked your teeth, the oral hygienist can spend a good thorough cleaning, should take at least 45 minutes to an hour. There might be dentists listening who don't agree, and they think a quick 10 or 20 minutes job will do it. If every time you go to the dentist, it is only 10 or 20 minutes, and there's very little bleeding and there's no stain, and you're in and out, and the insurance ends up paying for it. If you have medical aid, you might ask the dentist, do I really need to come every 6 months? Maybe you only need to go every year or year and a half. If you've never had a cavity, that's going to be in the book. Save your money, save your teeth. Maybe you don't have to go to the dentist every 6 months, but we get a lot of people at OptiSmile who haven't been for 6 years. Or one case, I had a patient who'd never ever been to the dentist. In fact, I've had that more than one time. And sometimes patients who've never been to the dentist got perfect, clean, healthy teeth, and other people, obviously, it's just a complete mess. So, there's the obvious, the brushing, the flossing, fluoride toothpaste, drinking lots of water, chewing sugar-free gum after meals, healthy diet, obviously avoiding too many carbonated beverages. So even Diet Coke will cause erosion of your teeth. And anything sour. One of my pet peeves is this hot water and lemon in the morning. I know it's supposed to be good for your system, but it just dissolves your teeth, and that's a bigger problem these days.
I didn't know, and some people even add apple cider vinegar. I was wondering how good that is for your teeth.
Yes, no, for your teeth, it's terrible. It's so bad. In fact, just last year, early in the year, we had done a full mouth restoration for a patient. He had Invisalign. He had some old silver fillings that were doing fine. We left them alone. One of those little fillings on the side of his teeth. And we had done injection molded composite. We had built up all his front teeth, and all the composite and the ceramics they don't melt or they don't get eroded by acid. But he came back just about 9-10 months later, and he said this silver filling on the side of the tooth is falling out. And I looked, and I use a microscope, and I had a look, and his teeth had appeared to have melted, and the filling was sticking out of the tooth. So we have these 3D scanners, and I scanned his teeth with this very accurate 3D scanner. It's like a digital impression. And then I compared it against his scan that we took before we did all these composite injection molding. And it's something called time lapse. And with this AI and with this technology, we overlaid these two scans, and it does like a heat map. And he had lost just under a millimeter, about 0.7 of a millimeter of tooth on almost all surfaces.
Sure.
And the filling was in the same place that it was before. And this was from, he went on a health binge, and he was juicing a lot. And after apple cider vinegar and lemon and chewing on lemons, he was crunching on carrots and very hard things. And he literally, any tooth that we hadn't restored with composite or ceramic, even some of the teeth where we had done ceramic, where he had his own tooth, next to the ceramic, the actual tooth was melting away.
Yo, that is hectic. And on that note, that's our Medical Monday session for today when it comes to teeth. Dr. Clifford Yudelman, thank you so much. This was very, very nice, and I'm looking forward to the same next week, same time, same place. Tell us quickly, how do we find OptiSmile and how do we get in touch?
So OptiSmile, if you just Google, I say this tongue in cheek, but if you just Google Best Dentist Cape Town, I hope we show up. Our ad should show up. We should show up on the map, and we should show up number 1 or 2 at the top. Our phone number is 087-702-6886. The best is to WhatsApp us. We now have a chatbot with a lot of useful information on there. On our WhatsApp, and we also man it, not quite 24/7, but you just click an option, speak to receptionist or speak to human. Our WhatsApp number is 071-140-0396. On our website, it's very phone friendly. At the top of every page, you can book an appointment. You can book a free video consultation if you're planning on coming in, but you come from far away, like London or Timbuktu, or in some cases, up the West Coast, or even people seeing us from Durban. We do a free video consultation, and you get to speak to myself or one of the other dentists for up to half an hour, and we don't charge for that. You fill in a new patient form, you send us a few photos, and we get on a Zoom or a Google Meet, and we send you a full summary afterwards.
Sure, that's a very nice service. Doctor, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. Looking forward to next week.
Yes, thank you so much. And just one last thing is, if you go to our website and you go to, along the top, there's dental solutions, dental technology, and dental problems. There's a drop down where you can click. The very first thing is bad breath. And a lot of the stuff that we just spoke about is on the website under bad breath. And then there's also like a magnifying glass. And if you type in their breath, you'll find several blog articles that I've written over the years with this and many more tips on there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to speaking to you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you.